Before the fame, before the millions, before the suits and the supercars, there was just a kid from Dublin, living off of welfare and chasing a dream that seemed impossible. Starting off young as a plumber's apprentice, and later went on to become one of the biggest stars in sports history. From the moment he set foot in an MMA gym, Conor knew he was different. With precision striking, knockout power, and a mouth that could sell out arenas, he exploded onto the scene like a force of nature.
Well then, Mike.
The rise was fast, it was loud, and it was legendary. This is the rise, the dominance, the chaos, and of course, the fall of the notorious Conor McGregor. But the real question is it truly the end? Make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Before the bright lights of the UFC, before the world knew his name, Conor McGregor was just another hungry fighter, grinding in the small but tough European MMA circuit back in 2008. He started training under John Kavanagh at SBG, where he worked his striking, sharpened his MMA skills, and built the confidence that would eventually make him a superstar. But the road wasn't easy for Conor. He made his professional MMA debut in 2008, fighting in small promotions like Cage of Truth and Cage Rage, and got his first professional TKO in his very first fight under Cage of Truth against Gary Morris. He then went on to get another TKO in Cage Rage against Mo Taylor. But in his next 4 fights, he ended up losing twice to submissions, once in just 40 seconds.
Yeah, he's got very good control, and he tapped him. That was a very fast submission there.
But regardless, by the next fight, he seemed to have found his style and rhythm, going on a dominant run, knocking out opponent after opponent with his signature left hand, winning 4 in a row, all by knockout. By 2011, Conor McGregor arrived at Cage Warriors, where he made history, becoming the first fighter in the promotion to hold 2 belts at the same time, the Cage Warriors featherweight and lightweight championship belts. The performances were too electrifying to ignore. The UFC came calling in 2013, and little did Conor know, his life was about to change forever.
So what happened was, I went over to Ireland. I received some award from one of the colleges over there. So I told all the fans, meet me at the bar tonight, I'm buying drinks. And all these people show up. Everybody keeps talking about this guy, Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, Conor McGregor. For some reason, whatever it was, I don't know why, I was drinking too, but I thought he was a heavyweight. So I come back and I tell Sean Shelby, our matchmaker, I said, this kid, Conor McGregor, he's like, yeah, I know him, I've been watching him, blah, 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 blah. We end up signing him. So he flies out to Vegas and he and I go to dinner together. And I'm blown away by this kid.
Conor can definitely throw a punch, and oh boy did he impress Dana White with his skills. He made his UFC debut on April 6, 2013 in Sweden against Marcus Brimage. It took Conor just 67 seconds to knock out Brimage with a combo of uppercuts. His performance was so dominant that Dana couldn't ignore it, giving Conor knockout of the night and rewarding him with a $60,000 bonus for his first fight in the UFC.
I'm blown away. First of all, it's his first fight ever in the UFC. He walked out tonight and got into the octagon like it was his 100th fight in the UFC. From the minute the bell started, he was nice and relaxed, moved around. And even after, he gets the knockout, it's like he's been here before and done it 100 times. Kid is totally relaxed. He's a beast. I'm impressed. Dresses well. Handsome kid. Seems pretty smart.
Just like that, a star was born, and the hype train was getting ready to leave the station.
You know, like people say about UFC jitters and all, it just felt like another contest to me. And competition is competition, doesn't matter if it's in a local club or here, I just felt the same. To be honest, I don't know what's going on here. I'm just out there getting $60,000. I'm just thinking of what I'm going to spend now. I'm going to have a car anyway, a nice car, and maybe some suits or some custom made suits, or I don't know. Just last week I was collecting the social welfare, you know what I mean? I was insane to them, like I don't know what's going to happen, like I'm signed to the UFC, I don't know what, blah blah blah, but now I suppose I'm just going to have to tell them to off.
His second fight came against a young Max Holloway in August 2013. Unlike Brimage, Holloway showed off his legendary chin and refused to go down. McGregor showcased his striking, but also surprised everyone with his grappling, especially considering he tore his ACL mid-fight. He was disappointed in his performance, explaining that he's a finisher, and if it isn't a finish, it's a loss.
It's an honor for me as well to come here, and this is like fighting at home for me, and but I don't give a shit. It feels like a loss to me, to be honest. I wanted the finish, and I felt the finish was there for me, and I injured my knee midway through the second, and I just can't get it out of my head. But looking back, I should have just pulled my knee from my leg and hit him with it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm up here listening to. This guy got of the night. This other guy got of the night. This guy got of the night. I want that. You know what I mean? I don't come here for decisions. We are rewarded for finishes, and that's what I'm looking for. I am a finisher.
Regardless of how he felt, he was now on a 10-fight win streak. He would go on to TKO Diego Brandao, Dustin Poirier, and Dennis Seaver, extending his win streak to 14. But his next fight would be his biggest test to date. He was going up against Chad Mendes for the interim featherweight title.
He said
Move, yeah. That was a move. Little
You're
coward.
trying to be friendly. You're trying to be little friends with him. Oh, please, can I have your fans?
It's a move, yeah. It's
respect,
what a man
bro.
does when he's close to
Something
death.
you know nothing
when
about
a man is close
at
to
all.
death, that's what he
It's
does. He looks
respect
to
and
buddy up. When a man is close to
God,
death,
I
that's
can't
what he
wait
looks
to
to do.
destroy this.
He
Keep
looks to
talking.
buddy up.
Keep talking.
Looks to buddy.
I can't even understand what you're saying.
He would go on to get a TKO victory over Chad by hitting him with a 1-2 combo with just 10 seconds left in the second round. This shot Conor's stardom to a bigger level. He was now the interim champ and was coming after the real belt.
2 weeks, 3 weeks, I butchered your face. I KO'd you. You were curled up like a. You were curled up like a. You were curled up like a. I butchered your body. You couldn't even lift your hands up. You couldn't even lift your hands up. You can do that all you want, but at the end of the day, the knockout speaks for itself, and you hit the deck like a.
The build-up to his fight with Jose Aldo was hectic. He snatched Jose's belt multiple times, taunted him the entire build-up, and even predicted the fight's outcome almost perfectly to Jose's face.
If the Brazilian shows up, I hope he does. Who knows? He's petrified. He's the so-called pound for pound #1, but he's quaking in his boots over there. You can't. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I hope he shows up. But if he shows up December 12th, the division will be killed, like I predicted. And then it's on to the 155, stuck in the mud division.
Conor went in there and knocked out a UFC legend cold in just 13 seconds, the fastest knockout in UFC history at the time. This boosted Conor's level of stardom.
That was. I said 1 round. He is the pound. He was currently the pound for pound #1 fighter on the roster, undefeated in 10 years, the company's only featherweight champion. Who comes in and predicts 1 round KOs? I did, and I did.
After his win against Aldo, Conor called out Nate Diaz to a fight at welterweight, 2 divisions up from featherweight where he just won the belt. This started the infamous Conor and Nate feud that began at the UFC 196 press conference.
Nate said he was ready to fight at any time, but well, he wasn't. He wasn't ready to fight at 155. He wasn't ready to fight at 160, 165. So we give him 170. So they go every other day.
I'm happy to go
I'm not
and
gonna
do
lose
it.
no weight over no shit. I don't give a f- I said 155 from the
You
beginning.
didn't take 155, though. You did not take
I did too.
155.
I did too.
You
Initially,
didn't take 155,
Yes,
Nick.
I did.
But that's cool. Don't worry about it. Don't
Come
worry
back
about it.
every
Get
day.
comfortable.
Take one
Get
back
comfortable.
every day.
170. Get comfortable. 170, brother. Yeah, get comfortable.
I don't give a f-
I don't give a f either. I don't give a f either.
He ended up losing to Nate by submission in round 2, which was disappointing to Conor.
I'm not cut. I'm not. I'm simply heartbroken, and that's it. I'll pick myself up and we'll figure it out in the morning.
For Conor, it wasn't over. He wanted to rematch Nate Diaz again at the same weight class to settle the score. Fast forward and UFC 202 gets booked with Conor and Nate headlining again. But this time, the feud had grown to an even bigger level. At the press conference, Nate Diaz and Conor got into a physical exchange when Nate decided to throw a water bottle at Conor, and Conor responded by throwing every bottle and soda can he could see at Team Diaz. This caused the UFC to shut down the press conference immediately, leaving Dana White visibly disappointed.
That's all right. Hey, Conor.
The rematch went well for Conor. He won with a majority decision. Although he was unable to knock out Nate, he still pulled off the victory.
But boy, is he one tough mother. He keeps on walking forward. He took every shot. I dropped him multiple times. He just keeps coming. His face was bust open and he's still coming forward.
After the victory, Conor wanted to achieve double champ status in the UFC, just like he did in Cage Warriors. He called out lightweight champion Eddie Alvarez for the belt, and his wish was granted. UFC 205 was booked, with Conor and Eddie headlining the card.
His question is, why you talking? That's his question. Why the you up there talking? Say it like it is. You're blessed. You're blessed that I chose you. You're blessed that I chose to whoop your next. Say it like it is.
In round 2 of their fight, Conor was able to land a quick 1-2 combination that knocked Eddie to the ground, where Conor secured the TKO finish. Conor was officially the first fighter in UFC history to get double champ status, and he used that to shoot his stardom to all-time highs.
It feels familiar. I saw it so clearly. I swear to God, I saw it so clearly, so consistently, until it's here in reality. So I've been saying this a long time. I'm very confident in my abilities and what I'm predicting I'm gonna do, and I back it up. I back it up with work ethic. I back it up with hours upon hours of time and dedication. I never slip. I never take a second off this game. So I'm very satisfied, very grateful, very happy, but not surprised. You know what I mean? I knew it. I knew it was gonna happen for me.
After his win over Eddie Alvarez, Conor repeatedly called out Floyd Mayweather and started a beef with the boxing legend. This brings us to his match against Money Mayweather and a meal ticket, with Conor reportedly securing a guaranteed $30 million. The UFC and Floyd agreed to co-promote the boxing event, and the build-up to this fight was viral, to say the least.
Real fighters don't quit! You f***ing eat shit! You
With your high heels. Look at them high heels.
Eat shit!
Get them high heels off, you little f***ing squirt.
The two clashed every chance they got, all the way up until their match, where Conor attempted to dethrone Floyd from his undefeated record. Unfortunately for Conor, he came up short and took an L to Floyd in the books, but he took a W when it came to his bank account. Conor reportedly secured $130 million from the fight purse in total, even after the UFC took 20% from his earnings. This made his ego go to a whole new level, and this moment is when the little evil leprechaun on Conor's shoulder started to take over. Conor became a new man overnight, untouchable, 100 millionaire, everything the plumber's apprentice once wished for. But it cost him one thing: his public image to fade. Just 3 months after losing to Floyd, Conor stormed the cage at a Bellator event, excited because his fighter won, but the match was never officially called off. This made referee Mark Goddard push Conor so he could tell him the match wasn't over, but Conor retaliated and came after Mark, getting in his face multiple times, causing an altercation in the ring. Conor allegedly threatened Mark by saying he will see him in Birmingham, his hometown. Then, just 4 months after that, Conor was being arrested for felony robbery after he slapped a phone out of a fan's hand who was recording him leaving a hotel. He smashed the phone with his foot and took it with him. It's important to note that the charges were dropped a year later, after the fan stopped cooperating with the police on the incident. Because Conor settled outside of court. But this was only the beginning of his legal troubles. Conor did the unthinkable and snuck into UFC 223 Media Day, getting backstage access from his brand, The Mac Life, who held the door open for Conor and his entourage. He was targeting Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib had slapped Conor's teammate, Artem Lobov, in the back of the head after Artem went on an interview and talked trash about Khabib. This made Conor furious. He booked a private jet from Ireland to New York, where the UFC 223 press conference was taking place at the Barclays Center. After he was granted access, Conor went to the parking garage where UFC fighters were in buses waiting to be transported to the fighter hotel. But Conor picked up a dolly and threw it at the bus that Khabib was in, shattering the glass and injuring multiple fighters on board. Conor then had a warrant out for his arrest for 3 counts of felony assault. and 1 count of criminal mischief.
There is a warrant out for Conor McGregor's arrest. They're looking for him right now. His plane cannot take off. He cannot leave the state of New York. I'm assuming eventually, if they don't catch him, he'll turn himself in.
Regardless of those run-ins with the law, it had been nearly a year and a half since his last UFC fight against Eddie Alvarez. It was clear that the next opponent Conor was targeting was Khabib, and the UFC wanted it too. With the heated backstory, this was a layup in terms of promoting the fight for the UFC. His feud with Khabib was dirty, with low blows from Conor, who was attacking Khabib's family, heritage, and even his manager, Ali Abdelaziz. During this time is when Conor invested into his own whiskey company called Proper 12, a game changer later on in his life. The press conference for Conor versus Khabib was aggressive. Conor was visibly drunk and drinking on stage. Being completely unfiltered, he mocked Khabib for the bus incident. He went off on him for not drinking his Proper 12 whiskey and pretty much anything else he can think of.
If you would have got off that bus, you'd be dead now.
No, okay.
You'd be dead and I'd be in a cell. So shoot you out with messages.
No,
do I look like a bloke that messages
I
blokes?
come out
Do I look
back.
like a bloke
But
that
why
messages
you come?
blokes? You.
They truly hated each other, and it showed in their fight. Khabib submitted Conor in the 4th round, choking him out and visibly talking trash to Conor's face after he tapped. Khabib then did the unthinkable and jumped over the octagon cage and dove into the crowd to attack Conor's teammate, Dylan Dennis. After this, everything broke loose. Khabib's cousins jumped in the cage and tried to fight Conor 1v4, but Conor slipped punches and barely took damage before security broke it up. To this day, Conor still hates Khabib, occasionally tweeting about him, and even most recently, spitting in a fan's face after he mentioned Khabib to Conor.
Yo, McGregor, can I get a picture?
Taking the L to Khabib ultimately broke Conor's soul. Conor just couldn't accept the loss. Just 6 months after losing to Khabib and taking a break from fighting, Conor went to a local bar and bought everyone shots of his whiskey. When an elderly man declined Conor's offer, Conor decided to punch the man in the face before leaving. He was once again charged, this time with assault, and was ultimately fined by the court. This left a stain on Conor's reputation, especially after a video surfaced from the bar and it showed the elderly man and Conor's altercation. Let's just say it wasn't a good look for Conor. He knew that he needed to fix his image, so he did what he does best. He booked his next UFC fight, but this time, Conor seemed like a changed man. He announced he would fight Donald Cerrone at UFC 246, and the build-up to the fight wasn't the usual hyped-up Conor. Instead, he seemed calm and respectful.
As we're training,
That's one hell of a coat, Donald. My God. I gotta give credit where credit is due. You know what I mean? I don't know whether you've outdone me. I've got lions on the inside of my baby here, you know what I mean? But that's a damn good coat, brother. What is it now? Was it crocodile or?
It's python.
Python, good man.
I'm sure PETA might be here because I got rattlesnakes on and python. So
they have a warrant out for me as well, PETA. They're coming for me too.
Conor beat Donald Cerrone in the 1st round in what was an easy and quick fight. Donald was old and nearing the end of his career, and Conor desperately needed a win on his record to get back into title contention.
I did come out and I let that left hand go from the chamber. The force of him dipping and me connecting with him with my hip even was a shot in itself. I'd probably put that down to 15 months outside of the octagon. You know what I mean? A little bit overstepping the shot. And I knew Donald, and I know Donald's good at dipping under the left hand, and I knew he would attempt to dip under the left hand. 15 months outside the octagon, a little eager, take from it all and carry on.
Meanwhile, this new Conor seemed like he was here to stay, respectful and not so arrogant or cocky. It seemed like he was actually changing for the good. He was eager to get back into the octagon again and booked his next fight against Dustin Poirier just a year later for UFC 257. Conor maintained the same humble approach for this fight as his fight with Cerrone. He befriended Dustin and helped him promote his hot sauce brand during the UFC 257 press conference.
So you've got the hot sauce sauce, Dustin. I'm actually I'd love to taste the hot sauce.
I got a bottle for you.
I appreciate that. I've got a bottle of proper for you. I'd love to share that. So, you know what I mean? He's putting in the work. I've been highly impressed. I think the whole business has been highly impressed. After that loss many, many years ago, he rose up, became champion. He's given so much back. I'm honoured to share this octagon with this man. I know we have this competitive fire, and it's still there. There's still that in us, you know. There's no denying that. We have a clash, and it's going to be a good firework-filled bout. But the respect is admirable for this man from me.
In their fight, Dustin Poirier dropped Conor with a right hook in round 2, which sent Conor to the canvas, where Dustin finished him off by TKO. The first time Conor has ever been TKO'd in his career. But even in the loss, Conor maintained a humble approach and congratulated Dustin on a good performance. He even promised to donate $500,000 to Dustin's charity.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, John. You know, it's hard to take the highest highs and the lowest lows in this game. My leg is completely dead, even though I felt like I was checking them. It was just sinking into the muscle at the front of the leg, and it was badly compromised. And it's like an American football in me suit at the minute. So, you know, it is what it is. Dustin fought a hell of a fight.
After the loss, he was eager to get his win back. He wanted the trilogy with Dustin, and the UFC granted it at UFC 264. But Dustin stirred up drama with Conor, calling him out on Twitter for not paying his promised donation of $500,000 to Dustin's charity, and claiming that Conor's team ghosted him. Conor quickly responded with anger, saying Dustin was trying to smear his name, and started to bash Dustin for calling him out. The old Conor was back. So now, for this trilogy, the evil leprechaun on Conor's shoulder was wide awake, and he was angrier than ever. His humbleness was gone, and he was out for revenge. During the UFC 264 press conference, Conor unleashed on Dustin and his wife.
You're only a little Your wife is your husband. You're only a little of a thing, a silly little hillbilly. Joe Lee's wife! Joe Lee's wife! You little of a thing.
The trash talk and mind games that Conor was so successful with before didn't seem to work on Dustin. Dustin ended up winning the trilogy by TKO when Conor snapped his leg and fell to the canvas, unable to continue. Conor went ballistic, screaming the famous line, "Your wife is in me DMs," to Dustin. Conor not only lost the trilogy, but he snapped his leg in half, which meant he had a long process to recover if he ever wanted to fight again. Soon after his drama with Dustin was over, Conor was seen in the headlines again, but not for good reasons. 2 months after the Dustin fight, he was involved in an altercation with a rapper. During the MTV Video Music Awards in 2021, McGregor was seen in a scuffle with MGK, who was held back by security, and his girlfriend Megan Fox on the red carpet. Things did not turn physical, and Conor downplayed the situation later in an interview. However, this would be a turning point for the Notorious.
What happened?
Absolutely nothing. I don't know. I just showed up and I don't know. I don't even know the guy, to be honest with you.
That was just the beginning of his spiral. Just 1 month after the MGK situation, he was in Rome for his son's christening at the Vatican, and also to pick up his famous $3.6 million Lamborghini yacht. This is when he allegedly got into an altercation with DJ Francesco at St. Regis Hotel in Rome while attending a party. Francesco claims it was for no reason, saying him and Conor were drinking all night and things were going well. When actress Bella Thorne and her husband Benjamin Mascolo left the party, Conor McGregor's entire demeanor changed and he became angry. Conor then allegedly punched the DJ and wouldn't get off of him until Francesco's bodyguards pulled Conor away. Francesco was left with a cut lip and sustained a neck injury. Francesco then sued Conor McGregor, saying it wasn't for the money, but to raise awareness to Conor about his recent behavior. As of January 2022, Conor is still under investigation, and we have not received any updates since. If convicted in Italy, Conor could face 3 months to 3 years in prison. Conor was then arrested and charged 5 months later in his Bentley Continental GT convertible, which was seized by police. According to reports, he ran a red light and was speeding up to 100 miles per hour while going in and out of traffic, almost causing a crash. He was charged with 2 counts of dangerous driving, failing to produce insurance, and having no license in Ireland. Later, in 2024, the judge served him a 5-month suspended jail sentence, a fine of 5,000 euros, and a 2-year road ban. This wasn't the end of it. Just months after reckless driving charges in March 2022, he was in the headlines for allegedly attacking a woman on his yacht. In July 2022, Conor was accused of assaulting a woman during his 34th birthday celebration in Ibiza, Spain. Apparently, this woman grew up with Conor in the same neighborhood in Dublin, which makes this situation even worse. The woman claims McGregor allegedly verbally insulted her appearance before kicking her midsection and punching her, and on top of that, threatened to drown her. The woman jumped off the yacht and was picked up by a Red Cross boat and went to shore. She went on to file a civil case, saying that she was hospitalized from the attack and suffered a broken arm jumping from the yacht to escape him. Unexpectedly, she decided to discontinue the civil case in January 2023. When it rains, it pours. Just a few months after Conor was arrested for reckless driving, he was hit with a lawsuit by his former best friend and teammate, Artem Lobov, the same person he flew for in a private jet from Ireland to New York for the infamous Habib bus attack, is now suing him. Conor McGregor and his partners sold shares of Proper 12 whiskey a year prior for an astonishing $600 million. Why is that important? Artem is claiming that he helped Conor McGregor set up the Proper 12 brand. Initially, Conor McGregor was looking to get into a vodka deal with actor Julius Bjornsson in Iceland. During a training session, Conor asked for Artem's advice, who has a bachelor's degree in business studies and a master's in finance and capital markets. And Artem told him it would be a smarter idea to do a whiskey brand in Ireland. Artem essentially stirred Conor in the right direction, and even went as far as setting up the entire deal for Conor and Proper 12. In return for doing all the work, Conor offered $1 million to Artem, and he turned it down. Artem is arguing that there was a deal in place for him to get a percentage of Proper 12, and it was not honored. He then decided to sue Conor McGregor. Artem wants 5% of Conor's profits from selling the shares. This lawsuit is still ongoing, and it's set to be in trial in May. Fast forward just 10 months later, and Conor can't stay out of trouble. He was seen at a Miami Heat basketball game when he was accused of SA to a girl in the bathroom at the event. She also filed a lawsuit on Conor, but they never charged him with anything for this incident. On top of this, when he was brought out on the court for a promotional video where he legitimately punched the Heat's mascot and injured him, this is when fans became concerned with Conor and his apparent abuse. He was seen on an interview promoting his new movie called Roadhouse, where he was visibly struggling to form sentences and seemed like he was withdrawing from whatever medication he was using.
I'm blessed to have entered into the movie alongside him. He was patient with me. He gave me guidance, and I just took it. You know, we had a good rapport on set. He has 75 movies made. I have 75 bar fights made. And that's it. We had a good back and forth.
But the worst was yet to come. Just a year and a half later, the biggest blow to Conor's career happened. He was sued in a civil court by Nikita Hand, who was offered to party with Conor back in December 2018. She claims that Conor allegedly forced himself on her against her will while high on alcohol and cocaine. Some of the details in this case are disturbing, so we won't be covering it any further. You can research it if you don't know it. Nonetheless, she won this lawsuit, and Conor was found guilty on November 22nd, 2024, having to pay Nikita Hand just over $250,000 in damages. And as a result of this lawsuit, Conor was dropped by Proper 12 and a video game called Hitman, in which he voiced a character for. This confirmed to the public that he does in fact use and he had cheated on his long-term fiancée, Dee Devlin, who was there for Conor before the money and before the fame. However, Conor disagreed with the court's decision and believes that he was wrongfully convicted and plans on appealing for a retrial. This brings us to now. Conor bought a portion of the company called BKFC, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, and with his fight at UFC 303 falling out due to a toe injury, his future in the UFC doesn't seem promising. He's constantly teasing fights and not coming through. He's left fans wondering if they will ever see the Notorious step back in the octagon. With his apparent abuse and down spiral with women and the law over the last few years, it looks like it will take a miracle to get him back to the Conor McGregor he once was. The question is, can he do it?
Shut your mouth, mate.
And that's been the rise and fall of Conor McGregor. Thanks for watching the video to the end. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future.